Good morning, everyone. No, come on. Good morning. That sounds better. After such a beautiful day yesterday, here we are again, and I am looking so forward to today. After all the pearls of wisdom I learned yesterday, today is really going to be another one of those special days. Did you guys have a good night last night? Fantastic. I'm so glad. Well, today is my husband's birthday. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know why I'm sharing it with you, but seeing as we're sharing everything, I might as well just tell you. And that's all I'm saying. Is it anyone else's birthday? Any other Virgos in the room? Yes, it's your birthday! Can I get a hug? Come and get a hug. You see why I said it was my husband's birthday. Here's another. Virgos. That's a conversation in itself. Happy birthday! Oh, I'm so happy for you. All the best. Have a and you are, this is Wisani from Pola. Happy birthday. We wish you all the best. Hey, have a wonderful day. Oh, that's so nice. Are there any other Virgos in the room? Whew, you guys seriously are hard flippin' work. Oh my God. I mean, I love you. I'm surrounded by Virgos because I'm a Libran, and that means I'm all over the place. In fact, I think Graham, who's going to be talking to us later, Graham Codrington, you're also a Libran, aren't you? Are you a Libran? Yeah. You see, us Librans need Virgos to just rein us in, Because we wake up and we think things are a good idea. Virgos, however, have already done the analysis. They plan it. My husband's he's got an entire degree on Excel. Who has a degree on Excel? When we go away, he does an Excel spreadsheet of... Anyway, Virgos, we love you. Happy birthday. The world would be in a shambles if it wasn't for you. It really would be. So today, I don't know why I'm in such a good mood. I have no idea. I actually remind myself of my dog, because and my dog is a Libran, little Vespa. He's a Labradoodle, and I never get to spend time with him in the morning. In fact, I've got two. One is a girl, little mini Labradoodle. She's a misery. And then the other one is meet. So I got to spend time with him in the morning, and he is in such a good mood this morning. So it was such a pleasure. So what I want to talk about is what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the future. Okay. Apparently, because I always thought I was quite cool until I had a daughter who is 12 years old, and she really doesn't think I'm cool at all. So last night I'm trying to find something to wear, and then I put these jeans on, and I said, no, but I can't wear them. They're too long. What do you mean they're too long? This is the look, Mom. This is what the people are doing these days. It's got to gather at the bottom. So I'm like, oh, okay. Then I put heels on. She said, why did you take your sneakers off? I said, well, because I'm going to wear heels. And I know I said I'd wear sneakers, but I said, no, Mom, in the future, this is cool. You've got to be wearing sneakers with everything. So I'm like, okay. And I said, and the jacket, does it work with the blue jean? Yes, Mom, wear it. This is so cool. So I'm dressed by a 12-year-old. And you know what? It is comfortable. I have never felt more comfortable. Yesterday, I wanted to cry wearing high heels. So the lesson in all of this is that we are scared maybe to embrace change. We're scared to embrace what is actually making our lives easier. And that was a lesson that I got from yesterday. And as I was driving here, I was thinking of all the phone calls I made and all of the kind of things I was doing stuck in a terrible traffic jam coming from my side of the world. And I replied to emails. I did everything while I was at a dead standstill. And then I thought to myself, I remember the days when we were petrified. I know some of you may not even remember that day, but there are some of people in the room that do remember when cell phones came around. And I was like, I'm never going to get a cell phone. Who needs a cell phone? We don't need cell phones in our lives. And then imagine not having a cell phone. Imagine living in a world that is not connected via the cell phones and how much more difficult our lives would be. Well, one thing I have realized, listening to the discussions, the panelists, is that AI is not here to take over. It isn't. It is a partnership, and it's here to make our lives easier. And boy, has it already done that. And all of the developments and the things that are here for us to embrace are to make our lives easier and to make our jobs more effective. And I think the moment we realize that is the moment that we will embrace all of these changes that are sitting right in front of us. I mean, I often sometimes look at my kids and I criticize them for spending all their time on social media and what are you doing and this is ridiculous and why would you want to? But why am I questioning them? That's what they do. It's where the world is going. I mean, I don't have a TikTok. Apparently, I have got about 10,000 TikTok accounts. And by the way, if you're about to buy into a finance tool that I apparently offer, it's fake, okay? It isn't real. That is an AI manipulation of myself. But those are things we should talk about as well, are the dangers of AI. But let's focus on the positives for now. But more importantly, educating yourself about it. But I've got a TikTok account that is registered, but I've never posted. But they're on it all the time. And that is the way the future thinks. Short, sharp, to the point, save time. So we've got to embrace it. We really do. Welcome to day 2. Welcome. Once again, Business Directive Contract Services. Thank you so much, our platinum sponsor, for a brilliant day yesterday, and we're looking forward to today as well. I really, really am. As you can tell, I was even answering panel questions by the end of the day. I apologize for that. That's just me being excited. Our silver sponsors, Merchants, Selga, Blue Label Telecoms, and Eskom, thank you very, very much as well. Bronze partners, Gauteng Tourism Authority, Diversify, and Modern Centric Holdings. Thank you as well for being our bronze partners. And then our showcase sponsors. And remember, there's that networking area, that area outside. Please, we want you to go and take a look and see what the stands have got on offer and all the wonderful competitions that are being run outside there as well. Sage South Africa, Youth Employment Service, Floba Clothing, BEE 123, Ticket Core, Godrej Consumer Products Limited, and Credit Gateway Financial Services, introduced by Alex Forbes. And then strategic partners, Prime Media, Out of Home, Good Governance Africa, and Bapisa. Thank you. Again, let's give everybody a round of applause. So we do have competitions, and yesterday we gave 1,000 Rand away to a Take-A-Lot voucher to one of the, what was it? I forgot your name, but I know you were sitting somewhere there. Quietly, I think he fainted when he heard he won because he didn't come up and accept it, and then suddenly he made his way to the stage. But one of our winners was not in the room. So we want to now give that prize away. And this, of course, is Mishka's autobiography, Iron in Silk. So we've got another one we're giving away at the end of today and another 1,000 Rand Take-A-Lot voucher. But let's give that prize away that we did draw your name yesterday, and you deserve it. So, Mishka, will you come and hand this out with me to our lucky winner? And my goodness, let me tell you, we even said your name in every possible way in case you were sitting in the room. But I believe you are here this morning. Simone Sprague. Simone Sprague, you are here, I hope, because you are the winner of the book. Please, if you're in the room, come on up and accept it. Yeah, there you go. And here's the book over here. Thank you. Welcome, Simone. We missed you yesterday. Well, you still get your book. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's an absolute pleasure. And remember, we have got another one that we're going to give. You know what, Mishka, don't go anywhere, because I'm going to call you up anyway. So we've got another one that we're giving away. Remember the BEE 123 software or employment equity software? We're also giving that away. That's at 50,000 Rand. That's going to be announced today. Please stick around to the end when we announce the winners. We really want you to be here. And then Diversify, they also are giving that customized online DE&I workshop valued at 35,000 Rand. So the draw taking place just before lunch today, so make sure that you've entered and visit those stands as well. All right, I'm not going to go through anything other than to tell you, Mishka's here, and she's going to sort of give us also a bit of her thoughts on yesterday and what we can expect today. Mishka, let me hand it over to you. Let's give her a round of applause again. Thank you. Do you need me to get you something? You good?
So good to, that I can hear. So good to see all the faces again this morning. You're welcome. It was a splendid day yesterday, and I think, Leanne, you look so pretty. The future through the eyes of the youth is just beautiful. So I looked and listened yesterday in all the sessions, and many things came to mind. There are fears maybe here and there. There's uncertainty. There's also plans that we're making. And, sometimes we plan our lives away, and then life happens. So I decided last night as I went back, and I thought, okay, so what are you going to talk about today? And I made a decision to talk shortly about my autobiography and the name Iron in Silk. Because people had asked, why iron in silk? So I just want to tell you, it's a road and it's a path that I've taken difficult. Sometimes when we have to share that and we put it even in this book form, you become vulnerable because you tell people things that are very close. And the idea about that is not to tell you anything else, but to encourage other people. Maybe you're going similar. And the iron is one of your hardest metals, When you get and you listen to motivational speakers, a lot of people speak about gold. A lot of people speak about get the money. I like talking about the iron part. It's not as pretty, but it is certainly far stronger, a far stronger metal. The silk is your very, very expensive and exquisite material. So when I was younger, I had 2 boys, and I went through a divorce, and it was difficult. So we faced times. Now that I can't go through, my book is there for that. But I want to just focus on 1 or 2 things in the book I want to tell you about today. At one point, I was selected by a Swiss Contact is a Swiss company, because I was a supplier to SME development, to SMEs in South Africa. I did that as that was my business. I loved it. And they chose me to be shortlisted to be one of the best, supposedly. And straight after that happened, I sold my car, and I decided, you know what, I've had a Mercedes. I thought, be wise as an entrepreneur. Took the cash, and I bought another car cash. Same day, and because there wasn't a bank that was involved with it, nobody arranged for the insurance. So, drove off. Same night, the car gave problems, accident, and I went down 55 meters down the cliff and ended almost in the ocean on the Royals Gordons Bay Road. So they had to come and fetch me, woke up in hospital, and I can say, not a scratch on my body. But my car was gone. No insurance. And the tow-in, truck-in service, whatever you call them, they sold the parts to cover the costs. So here I am, single mom, raising 2 wonderful, clever boys today. They are so successful. I'm so proud of them. And I didn't know what to do next. No car. Living in Gordons Bay, those of you who don't know the area, Gordons Bay is about 12 kilometers from Strand, and there's a train. So bearing in mind, I don't mind walking, but I walked a lot to get to places because I'm still busy with Swiss Contact. I'm part of this initiative. And all of a sudden, when you don't have transport and you don't have anything, how do you make money in what you do? It's just different because we don't really have a good transport system. So I carried on with the project, used public transport. I did everything I had to carry on with that. And eventually they said to me, you're one of 5 finalists. I'll never forget it. The night before, the people from Switzerland was there to interview me and speak to me about it. I was sitting on my bed, and I counted, and I had 9 rand Now, a third-class bus ticket, a train ticket at that point, cost about R8.50. So I knew I could get into town. I can get there, but I can't get home. And I didn't know anybody in that area, in Somerset West, Gordons Bay area. So please call me, it's something I've never done in my life. Please call me a friend. I said, listen, can you just put $50 in my account because I'm going to go tomorrow. So she said, you just go. We'll get you back home. Long story short, the next morning I thought, high heels, I've got to look the part because now I'm one of 5 finalists. I had to walk. As I came out, my neighbor came out. He says, are you looking for a lift? Maybe I'm going to take you to Strand. Went on the train, got there, and a long story short, I won that. And they said it was because of the determination that I've shown and the resilience to carry on in the midst of the circumstances. They bought me a car that was exactly double the amount of the car that I lost that night. That went over that, yeah. We can give them a... They made such a difference in my life. And I realized sometimes we need somebody to believe in you. And they put me back on track in my business, and we went on again. But you know what? The one thing I've learned is that you and I can decide what we want. Determination and what we are going to, we don't know. That same incident that happened in the beginning of 2020, just before COVID, I was, as a businesswoman, faced with a question. There was a contract coming up that I could buy. I didn't know COVID was going to come. Nobody did. And I put my hand there, signed it, and COVID hit. Everybody said, what did you do? You know, now you've signed this contract. And I said, you know what? It's going to be okay. And it is okay because we grew 500% in the last 4 years. So, in the difficult times, I've learned not to listen to everything that's going on around me. And in that difficult time, when you don't really know what to do, inside of me, I felt a strength that I started feeling iron. We grew so much in the last 5 years, but I can tell you one thing, the decisions I have to make today, because you're going from 30 million, 200 million, now the decisions, the weight of it all is so much. The same woman that had 9 rand in her hand to get to a place and had to depend on somebody else to bring her back the next day. But that determination is what makes me have the right decisions daily where I am. And I want to encourage you and say, people ask me, they can ask me today, what will you go for, the gold? Why don't you talk about gold like a lot of people? Why don't you talk about being successful, making lots of money? Because you see, the money is not what we should pursue. We should pursue strength. We should pursue to become a person that is so calm and collected and understand that nothing will stop you. And the moment you do that, the money, the opportunities, the gold start to pursue you. And I want to say in this specific time, we don't know what's going to happen. I so much wish I can tell people, you know what, AI and IT and so forth, it's amazing, and it is. But the same thing that happened with all of us in 2020, we didn't expect something to come like the COVID-19, did we? And when that hit, one of the most amazing things that happened to me was that resilience that I had to build up. Because I knew, that's it. My children, they have to flourish. Doesn't matter what we're going through. Financially, whatever, everything had happened. My children were important. Today, we've got so many employees, almost 2,500. So they are almost like my children. And I say, they've got to flourish. And I've got a choice that I've got to make. And we can tell them, you know what? You and I have to teach our children, we have to teach and show our employees to be resilient, to make good choices whenever, it doesn't matter what happens in life. We have the ability, a human has the ability, like I said yesterday, we do not leave out for you, those of you who weren't here, we must not forget that the H in HR stands for human. We have been designed to do amazing things. AI is phenomenal, but a human has to dig down for the gold. If you ask me today, if you've got to choose, Mishka, between the iron and the gold, I'll go again for the iron. Because I know I will need that strength, that resilience. And when that trouble comes and it looks me in the eye, then I'll be able to tell it, oh no, this woman nearly died. This woman we're left with nothing. This woman went through so much. Who are you to try and take me out? So go for the iron. Train and teach your people. What we have is phenomenal. We can decide whether we want to enjoy every single day. We can decide whether we're going to be worried about whatever. Some people, we're talking about it today on the panel, the FOBO, about, am I going to become obsolete? In this age of IT, digital transformation, how many people are worried about that? And that's the wrong attitude, because you know what? In life, we often become obsolete. It's sad, but it's true. Sometimes we've got friendships that we treasure. That friend decides, oh, done, not going to be a friend anymore. Do you know that's feeling obsolete? People are going through divorces. We are facing that, and we can face it at any time of life. So please don't let the fear of retrenchment, the fear of what may happen, that may possibly never happen, ever overcome you. And I'd like to say to the HR managers and anybody in this room that is so responsible for the staff and you want them to flourish, if we live an example, don't ever think about them as only a number. Every one of the people, they wake up every morning with their own set of circumstances. Let's show them by example to be brave. I always love it, you know. I think if I can do one thing, if I can show my children one thing, it is to be brave. Because I know they're going to face situations in life where I will not be around. So let's get back to basics. Let's embrace AI as much as we can, technology. I love it. Makes life so much easier. But let's have resolve to stay in that place of I am ultimately responsible for my own future. Thank you very much.
In today's fast-paced world of logistics, your workforce is your greatest asset. But managing that workforce, that's where challenges arise. We're not just staffing, we're your all-in-one workforce partner. From recruitment to payroll, from HR to safety, we handle it all. With BDCS, you'll streamline operations, reduce costs, boost efficiency, all while ensuring full compliance. Our track record speaks for itself. 99% on time, in full fulfillment rate. Preferred supplier to industry leaders. With operations across South Africa, we're ready to scale with you. BDCS, powering your workforce, driving your success.
Beautiful. Mishka, thank you. Thank you for making it real. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Because, you know, one thing that's as important is that everybody has a story. You don't just become who you are overnight. There are struggles, there is hard work, there's passion that's put into it. You know, in fact, our next speaker and I were having just a tiny chat off stage, and we were saying how, you know, when you're training for something, and I know Graham is training currently to run the Otto race or Otto marathon. I have no idea. Anyway, it's just those things I watch from far and admire. But it's the hard work, it's the training, it's the waking up, it's putting in the hours and the kilometers and the hard training and thinking, I can't do this, and then getting sick and having to get back on the bandwagon, and exactly what Mishka shared with us, you know, those things that happen. Nothing can ever change the same story of human nature. And human nature is all about persevering. It's about battling through those times. So as much as the world changes, and as much as there's all of these inventions that are coming about to make it easier, real hard work makes it worth it. Because you can't take that away. Fundamentally, the world changes, but things are still the same. And that's what's so exciting. But having said that, Graham is somebody that I suppose one could call a futurist. He really is internationally recognized for what he does. He's an expert in the future of work. With over 2 decades of experience, Graham has worked with some of the world's leading brands, sharing insights on how to navigate the forces shaping the next decade. He's spoken to hundreds and thousands of people in more than 80 countries, authored 5 best-selling books, and serves on the faculty of 5 top global business schools. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Graham Codrington. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Leanne. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here this morning and to get going on this second day of a really important look at the future of HR. And I've entitled my talk, Building Bionic Business. If we pick up the themes from yesterday, we know that we live in this digitally enabled world that's technology fueled, and there's so much excitement about some of the tools that we've got available. But I want to just ask, are we actually getting the benefit that we've talked about? Or are we more feeling like this? With the technology. So it's wonderful to have all of these technology communication tools. You've got WhatsApp, you can be in touch with people all over the world and with your family and with your friends, but your boss can also send you a message halfway through the rugby. And then you've got to work out, do I even open it? Because then those blue ticks of death, right? You know the blue ticks, right? I see that you see me, and you ignore me. This is now a choice that you've made. Maybe it feels more like this than exciting, right? Let's be honest. Let's be honest about this. And then, of course, especially in the HR world, we can't pretend that the people we serve and ourselves don't have the nervousness about, are these things going to replace us? Yes, we heard the message yesterday again. No, they mustn't replace us. They're tools, we must use them. But you sit in on the senior leadership meetings and you know what their plans are, right? You know what they hope will happen. Whatever they say will happen. And I think that if we are in a world where we think that the next clever thing to do is automation, I think we've fundamentally misunderstood the moment that we're in. I do believe that augmentation is better than automation. In other words, we do need to be looking at how these things are our tools, our friends, our helpers, making our lives better. But I thought that at the start of day 2, maybe a dose of honesty might be useful, because I actually don't think it's happening. I think, actually, that we are a little bit more like we might be living in the Matrix. If you remember the movie, you had this opportunity to take either the red pill or the blue pill. And the one pill allowed you to just keep on living in your dream world where technology is your friend and everything works out fine, except remember the office that he worked in? That's the same office you work in now. Or you could take a pill that would open your eyes and say, is this really what's going on? So, welcome to my TED Talk. I want to suggest to you that we need to find this word bionic in our language, and that we need to build bionic organizations. And when I say we, I mean HR professionals. I think our contribution over the next few years in business, the people who are responsible for the people, are going to have the most important voices, and we need to raise the volume and intensity of the message that we bring. We are not here to deliver an efficient machine to the organization so that they can improve their profitability. We are here to build lives and to empower people and to make sure that people are centered in whatever decisions are made in our businesses. Am I right? That's our role. And so I think this word bionic might be a key to doing that. Now, let me explain, if bionic is not a word you are familiar with. If you are as old as I am, then maybe the picture on the left is sparking a memory. That was from our TV sets, back when TV started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with Lieve Hexie and ended at about 10 p.m. with the national anthem. And somewhere in between, there was the $6 million man. If you're younger like Leanne, then RoboCop might be more appropriate. Same story, same story. A guy nearly dies, but he's a really good guy, and so they put half of him as a robot and bring him back. With the $6 million man, I never understood how it would work, because one of his super strengths now was that he could run with speed. But if you've only got half your body, I don't know why you just don't run around in circles. But anyway, it was TV. You just accept myself. You're going to have to find your own stories. I don't know the young movies. But it's humans and machines combining. That's what bionic means. It means that the human does the human part and the machine does the machine part, but we need each other. We work together. But before I take you to this bionic future, please come with me to the past. It's always useful to get a little bit of context so we know where we're going. So if I'm talking about the next industrial revolution, and we've got these cliche labels, we use the fourth industrial revolution, the fifth industrial. We'll get to those in a second. But if you want to understand what the fourth and fifth is, it's probably good to know what the first is and the second. So let's go back there quickly. The first industrial revolution, which, if you remember anything from school, we just called the Industrial Revolution when we were at school. But it's the first. Began in 1712 when an Englishman called Thomas Newcomen invented a steam-driven pump, and it was first used in Welsh mines, tin mines actually, to get water out of the bottom of the mine so that they could dig the mine deeper, faster, and make more money. And over the next century or so, those steam-driven pumps, and then from steam, we found oil and invented diesel and petrol and gas, and we get to these worlds of factories and machines, and they were everywhere, from transportation to hospitals, from schools to clothing factories. There wasn't a place in the world that didn't have an engine, a machine, a factory. The Industrial Revolution. The second industrial revolution began at the end of the 1800s, but probably the epitome of an example of what the second was is Henry Ford's motor company. Because Henry Ford didn't invent the motor car. He didn't invent almost anything to do with the motor car. He took existing technology and he reimagined what the world would look like if all of those technologies were put together in a different way. In particular, from an HR perspective, he did some really amazing things. He doubled the wages of the people in his factory. He was one of the first big companies in the world to move from a 6-day working week to a 5-day working week. So you can thank him for your weekend as well as your car. And the whole point was he realized it wasn't the technology that was clever. It was how we reimagined the world using that technology and changed the way that the world worked. If you're taking notes, you might want to write that little sentence down. You're going to need it again in about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. He didn't invent new technologies. He took the technologies that existed and used them to reimagine how you could put the world together. In fact, as he reflected on the moment in history where his cars changed the world. This is a picture of New York City in 1904. You can just see horses, carriages everywhere. By the way, if you know horses, you will know that that picture has a smell. That many horses. It was pretty rough. But hidden in that picture is actually what was about to happen. That was the first motor car. In fact, it wasn't even called a motor car. It was a horseless carriage. Didn't even have the words for the future yet. And then, within a decade, of course, his revolution, the second industrial revolution of the continuous production line, just flooded the streets. Imagine being in the horse industry during that time. He reflected, Henry Ford, later on this moment, and he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said foster horses. Are you and your company building foster horses? As an HR professional, are you just taking instructions from the CEO and the CFO to build foster horses? Or are you picturing what is about to happen and what could happen? Right, let's keep moving. Because we've done the first and the second. Let me ask you, what's going on with my laptop over there? There we go. Okay. Whoa, I've gone too far now. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay in the system here. The third industrial revolution. You've already seen the reveal. But quickly, in your head, if I say what's the third industrial revolution, what are you saying? Yeah, okay, the surprise is lost, right? Okay, you knew that. It's computers, starting in the 1950s. Then it's microchips and it's smartphones and it's the internet and everything else. Okay, excellent. So what is the fourth industrial revolution? This cliche we've thrown around for the last few years. AI, okay, robotics. This is all the stuff that you talked about yesterday, all these things like machine learning and automation. Yeah, that's what we normally tell ourselves. Except why is that the fourth? What's the fourth about it? What do you think the fourth might be? If the third is about new technologies and digital world and everything else, if you were taking notes about 2 minutes and 42 seconds ago, you would have written something down. Just check what you wrote, because that's the right answer. Actually, it isn't about these new things. In my opinion, and this is the point of my TED Talk this morning, these things are still the third industrial revolution. It's only when we take the technologies of the day and we work out how we can reimagine the world using those technologies that we begin to inch into what we might call the fourth industrial revolution. Otherwise, and this is the point I'm trying to make, I think we're still stuck in the toxic end of the third. It's like we're still stuck in the Industrial Revolution, but just with WhatsApp. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. And let me prove this to you. I know we talked a lot about AI yesterday, but I just want to show you something. This is not artificial intelligence. I can literally prove this to you. There's a meme going around at the moment that you ask ChatGPT, how many R's are there in a strawberry? Now, they fixed that one, so I went with raspberry, because they haven't fixed that one. And it literally comes up and it says, if you ask ChatGPT this, and you ask how many R's are there in raspberry, it will say there are 2. Go, what? No, sorry, my mouse is messing with me. So there are 2 R's in raspberry. So that's not true. So you then push back, because ChatGPT, you can chat with it. And so you say, no, please try again over there. And then it comes back and it says, okay, no, sorry for the confusion. There's only 1 R. And then you say, like, no, for sure that's not right. So then it says, I'm sorry for the confusion earlier, but there are, in fact, 2 R's. And then you say, I failed to understand, because apparently you're artificial intelligence. So then I asked it, how are you working this out? Can you explain this to me? And then it says, right, well, let me spell the word for you, blah, 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 and there are 2 R's. No, seriously, you can do this. I'm not making this up. I literally recorded this video yesterday to double check that it's still putting this nonsense out. Now, some of you are asking, how does this work? I don't have much time, so just very quickly. It's called tokenization. ChatGPT, Bard, Bing, Llama, Claude, Grok. What on earth is Elon Musk thinking? X and Grok. He needs somebody in his marketing team. But whichever of these systems you use, Copilot in Microsoft, whichever you prefer, they all work the same way. What they've done is they've taken billions of documents, literally, and they have taken words and phrases and sentences out of those. This is how your brain works. My middle daughter is currently in Europe on her dream holiday. She's been saving for years and years. Next week, she's going to be in Paris. And the most excited I have ever seen her is that she's going to see the Eiffel. Well done. You've just proved that you are as smart as ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT has no idea what it's actually saying. No, you need to understand this. Has no idea what it's actually saying. It's trying to guess the next word based on the previous 18 words. That's literally the technology. It doesn't know that the Eiffel is a tower. It just knows that this TOWER comes after the EFFEIL. EFF. I'm not sure what normally comes after the EFF, but tower will be fine. So what's happening is that ChatGPT doesn't know that raspberry is a fruit. It doesn't know that raspberry is a word. It just knows that that concept is a little token in its dictionary. So it cannot look inside the word because it's almost like a little emoji inside there. And it knows that raspberry is probably linked to strawberry and might be linked to breakfast and is certainly linked to fruit and it's linked to health and it's linked to sweet and it's got all these links. But that's not thinking. That's not intelligence. We don't have artificial intelligence yet. I'm not saying you shouldn't use these tools. But what I'm saying is these tools are only good if what you are wanting to do is to find out what the average human being has thought about a topic in the past. And if 1,000 people have thought about the topic, and they all have thought roughly the same thing about the topic, well, then ChatGPT is going to give you a brilliant answer, and it's going to be beautifully written. In this sense, it's like a second-year university student. Do you know what a second-year university student looks like? This Hannah of mine that's now traveling to Paris next week, she's just finishing studies. And when she was in the second year of her studies, I hated her. I hate all second-year students. They are the world's worst human beings because they don't know what they don't know. They think they know everything, but they don't know how stupid they actually are. Now, if you offered me a second-year intern for free, I'd take her, but I would never leave her unsupervised. You give her instructions. If she doesn't know what she's talking about, she will just make stuff up. And if you ask her how many R's there are in raspberry, she will just guess with complete confidence. But she actually doesn't know what she's talking about. If what you want to investigate is well known by most people, and even a second-year university student could find it out for you, then use ChatGPT. Otherwise, use a real person. This is what the fourth industrial revolution is going to be about. It's going to be about saying, what are the technologies good for? And what are we as human beings needed for in the system? In other words, it's about being bionic. And when we become bionic, I really believe that we should upgrade our expectations. At the same time that Henry Ford was building his factories, the Wright brothers We're taking that same motor car engine, which was now a reliable engine, and putting it into the frame of a glider. And they were discovering that human beings could fly. This is what we really want. We want to fly. We want to change the world. My phone over here shouldn't just beep when my boss wants some information. This shouldn't just give me a slightly better weather forecast for tomorrow. This should be curing my cancer. This phone knows where I am, where I've been. If it's linked to my smartwatch, it's got all the medical data that it could possibly have. It shouldn't be saying, ooh, you look a little bit sick. It should be saying, Graham, you are going to be sick by Monday unless you do the following things. I'm not joking about this. This should be changing the world. And when Apple launches their new iPhone next week, they shouldn't just be telling us the camera's got another 10 megapixels. And now please spend another 30,000 to buy a new one, because it's now got 5.5G connection. You can get 3 bars in Borscrane. Like what? Like fix some problems, man. Fix some problems. So Bionic Business takes the technology of the day and it enables superhuman performance that solves real big problems and changes the world and makes our lives better. Let me give you a real example just so that you know this is not all hypothetical. At the heart of the fourth industrial revolution, at the heart of bionic business, at the heart of being digital, at the heart of everything we talked about yesterday is data. Right? Data. So let me give you an example of what this might look like to be in the proper bionic world. Outsurance. And we know Outsurance sells car insurance, right? Mainly. And also, we know that when the traffic lights are out, at some intersections, an Outsurance points person will pop up to help you through the traffic. It's lovely. And the first time I saw them, I thought, Outsurance, well done. Proper civic duty. Well done as a South African citizen. You're making our lives better. Until I discovered, do you know how they choose where to send these people? Think about it. In the context of a bionic business, this is actually smart. A very smart person in Outsurance looked one day and said, do we know where all the accidents happen? Yes, we do, because it's literally our job. Have we ever plotted those accidents on an actual map to see if there are hotspots? They did that. There are. Then they began to say, well, what happens if we look at the weather? If it's raining, do we get more accidents in one place? Then they took that Eskom push app. No, don't be offended. That's the actual name. I mean, they're just not allowed to actually use that word in the App Store. But let's be honest, right? And then they said, well, let's put load shedding on top of that. And then they discover, no, there's all these hotspots. Do you know that it's cheaper for Outsurance to put an actual human being at a traffic light than it is to pay for the car accidents that would happen if they didn't? It's a completely capitalist system. They're not good people. Sorry if Outsurance is in the room. They're not good. I'm not saying you should shout at these people as you're like, capitalist bastard, as you drive past them. Thank them. They're still doing a good job. It is, in fact, a win-win-win-win. That's what Bionic can be. When we use, not data analysts, we've got more than enough nerds in our buildings already, but we need data detectives, people who can dig into the data. By the way, you should have at least one of these on your HR team, someone who can dig into the people data of your business and pull out stuff. Not that makes us more efficient and makes more profit for the CEO, but makes us better people. Real innovation in the next 3 to 5 years is not going to be about new products and services and new markets or channels to market. It's going to be about our ability to change our business model itself. And I think that HR should be taking a lead. Very quickly, I know my time is up, but let me quickly finish the story, because there is a fifth industrial revolution. Mark Benioff, the Salesforce CEO, was the first to sort of put this out there a few years ago, and he said that the 4 industrial revolutions so far have been very hard on the planet. With climate change and sustainability, and even us as people, we've built a hard world that extracts a lot. The fifth industrial revolution needs to be about doing all these digital technology things, but in a way that's good for the planet and good for us. So that's what Bionic Business is. Bionic Business is about finding a way to take the technologies that are available to us, not allowing those technologies to become our masters, but allowing them to supercharge us and give us superhuman abilities so that we can build a world that is better for the people who live in it. That's what we should be aiming at. The future of HR is not digital. The future of HR is not about new technologies and smarts this and smart that. The future of HR says we mustn't compete with the machines. We must be more human. But not more human, we must actually be bionic. I'm not saying don't use the technology. I'm a technology nut. I love it all. But if the technology allows us to become more human, superhuman, then it's good technology. And then we must use it. If the technology is just there to enslave us and make us more productive and efficient, you as HR professionals should fight against it with every last breath in your body. Because we are the people. We are the people who should be responsible for bringing Bionic. Not the IT department, not the tech team, not the CFO, the people. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. If you would like a copy of the slides that I've used and an additional resource on an issue called anti-fragility, which is another topic for another day, but it's linked into this. It's more than resilience. It's about becoming anti-fragile. You can get it for free. Go and grab it at that website or using that QR code. I'll be here for the rest of the morning. We'd love to chat to you. Or, yeah, you can WhatsApp me if you really want to. Thanks.
Love it. Graham, thank you. Let's give him another round of applause. Graham Codrington, thank you. Fantastic. So interesting. And it's an absolute fact, I promise you. I mean, when you sort of use ChatGPT, and I remember I was trying to create a picture, and you can't argue with ChatGPT. That's the problem. It knows what it knows, and that's all it knows. So you kind of, I thought I'm going to try and use the image creation. And all I wanted to do was create an image, and I wanted the name of something put onto different runners of the countries they come from. It couldn't even spell Brazil properly. I mean, it was spelling things in the most ridiculous way. And the more I would tell it to correct the spelling, it would redesign the whole thing. And then it's not there yet. It isn't there yet, whichever way we look at it. So we got to help it along. But Graham, thank you. Thank you for those insights, and very important insights at them. Eskom, let's talk. We've got the next panel that's coming up, and this is brought to us by Eskom. It's called Creating a Learning Ecosystem, Nurturing Continuous Development. So I'm going to invite our speakers onto the stage, and we're going to have a quick chat in terms of that topic. And it's basically powering up potential and transforming talent in the energy sector, which is a very important sector. We know how important it is, especially when we don't have it. But at the moment, we seem to have it, which is a good thing. Which begs the question, Graham, what are Eskom's push doing at the moment? They were the busiest, most used app in the country, and now, I don't know, they're not. Wait, they're still sitting there. Candice Moodley, please come on up. Candice is the Corporate Services Executive at EWCETA. Devon Pillay, Head of Institutional Support, Presidential Climate Commission. Beke Malloy, who is the General Manager of Learning and Development at Eskom. And Peter Mashatola, who's the General Manager of Skills and Talent at Eskom. While they walk up, let's
On
enjoy
the
this
1st of March
advert from them.
2023,
Nice to
Eskom
see
would
you.
have been supplying electricity for 100 years. We've moved to a point where 90% of South Africa is electrified.
Electricity is helping our community to open the small businesses, a spaza shop for a grocery, a fed cook kiosk. On that money, send the kids to the school.
There's so many different elements around electrification, from access to energy, access to education. You can power computers, you can power your Wi-Fi, you can run a business. It just touches on so many of the sustainable development goals. And it's more than electricity, it's about what electricity enables in a life.
I'm feeling happy because the life of the people, they are changed now because of the electricity.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Thanks very much to all of you for being with us, and we're looking forward to this conversation. So, transforming talent in the energy sector. And what a sector, because there is so much change taking place when we look at the landscape in the world, not only in South Africa, but in the world as well. So, let's begin. Becky, I'm sitting next to you. So, if we look at Eskom and the critical skills that are needed, how do you go about identifying what those skills are that are required for the workforce to adapt to this energy landscape that we're seeing change?
So good morning, Leanne, and good morning, good people in the room. I must say, in Eskom, what we have done, we have developed a framework of reskilling and upskilling of our people. We have done skills audit to look at what are the skills that are required today and the skills that are required in the future. There are two big things that is happening in the energy sector. There is the just energy transition, which is happening, and we also have the digital transformation. And we're not talking to what is happening out there, it's currently happening. So what we do, we look at what are the skills that are required to maintain our current operations, and also what are the skills that are required for the future. And then we develop the framework where we test and look at what are the competency gaps, and then we then deploy the training that is required. So it's an exciting period for our organization, and it's also an exciting period for the energy sector.
Have you noticed a lot of change taking place within Eskom? I mean, obviously it needs to change, but you know, in terms of the skills and filling those important gaps, because clearly there were gaps, and I'm not sure what's going on at the moment, but it certainly does feel like things are moving in a positive direction.
Indeed. It's because of the work that the Escomites have been doing in the background. There's a lot that is happening in our industry that needed us to look at where we are, what does the future look like, and what do we require to get to the future of sustainable organization. And we've done that in the past couple of years. We've started rolling out certain training that is required. It is an exciting period to be part of Eskom, I must say.
Yeah, one can only imagine. Devin, let me come to you, because you sit at the Presidential Climate Commission, and we talk about the skills that are needed for those that are working in this energy sector. How do we upskill employees to shift towards this sustainable and renewable energy that we keep on sort of needing and talking about and moving in that direction?
Great, thanks, and good morning to you and everyone present. Okay, so let's just take a step back, right? So this transition is just not an energy transition. It's the energy transition is as a result of what we would consider a shift to a low carbon, climate resilient economy. That is what we want to achieve. The previous presentation was actually excellent. It started at the point which has led us to where we are today. The Industrial Revolution and the subsequent revolutions thereafter has contributed to the massive carbon emissions. And you know, the PCC is not a group of greenies. We're actually looking at how do we transition society as a whole to a low carbon climate economy that will be sustainable on the long term. So to achieve this, we got to realize it's a upskilling, reskilling, and actually skilling of all economic sectors. Right? So it's not just the energy sector. But to zoom into the energy sector, what we found very interesting is you need to skill across the entire value chain. So you've got to look at the planning phase, Look at what's happening in terms of contracting, in terms of planning, in terms of the built environment. Then you've got to look at location, etc. Then the second part of skilling comes into when you look at the construction and the development around the built environment system. I think one of the challenges we do find is we don't have enough engineers and enough planners around. So that means getting the built environment on board, getting the professional bodies on board to set these new standards so skillings can take place. The second is operation, and I think a lot of work has been done in operations. Right? And I think a lot of the research work around what we need to do for the energy transition primarily focused around operations. And you know, in all honesty, I think Eskom had a fairly good capacity internally. It was just other factors that has led to the significant decline in the energy generation, which is now being addressed. And at that point of operation, it's Eskom, but most importantly, it's what's coming on from the private sector. And I think Eskom's skilling capacity is one of the best in the country.
Yes.
Right? Yes. What we need to get on board now is the private sector companies that are coming on board and getting them to do the upskilling and reskilling and participating in this whole ecosystem. And you know, when we go past operations, there's maintenance and what skills are required for that. And I think work has been done largely around that. I mean, EWCETA has done excellent work. CETA has done excellent work. So most of the CETAs are on board on this. The last element, though, I think is where we need to do a lot more work, is what skills are required for end of life. And I think that's where some of the challenges remain. I mean, we're experiencing some of the challenges right now in Komati and the decommissioning in Komati, right? Yeah. So we need to focus on end of life. For the energy transition, end of life. But similarly, for the entire value chain across all economic sectors, you look at mining would be a key example, end of life. What happens? How do we transition this? We don't only need to focus on our own workers. We need to look at the entire value chain. So in Eskom power plants have its own workers, but there's a lot of subcontracting and contracting that takes place. While Eskom has been able to secure its workers during the transition, unfortunately there's been, the contractors and subcontractors have lost their jobs. Yeah. Ideally the thinking was there would be transition to other localities, but that didn't take place because of own family commitments, right? So we need to look at what you do with, at localities for subcontractors and contractors. I think some of the key things that need to happen now is a massification of apprenticeship. I mean, that was done excellently during apartheid. Why can't we use the similar systems that have been beneficial along all state entities to build in this capacity? The second issue is around recognition for prior learning. I mean, that is part of the skilling system, but it doesn't take place to the extent and scope that's required. And there are challenges within the policy regime that needs to be addressed. And I think government needs to come on board on this, and needs to come on board with a significant speed. The last point is, I mean, we've got HR practitioners here. And one of the challenges we've been figuring and trying to fathom is you have certain sectors in society claiming that they don't have sufficient skills. And the question is why? I think we have a fairly good system to provide the skills, all the way from DHET to the CETAs, right? From a policy and implementation process. There are some challenges, yes, but we can fix those. CETAs are ultimately responsible for ensuring skills are supplied to the economy and meet demand. CETAs are not made up of the individuals or the administration only. Critical component of that is the board of CETAs. And on these CETA boards, we have the private sector. Interestingly, most often you would find that the private sector actually complains about the lack of skills to grow the economy. And the question is, if you are sitting on the CETA boards, why do we have this shortcoming? Workplace skills plans are developed at a company level and then filter all the way up to CETAs to realize. If the correct data and correct data sets are being supplied, I am sure we'll have the right outcome. Obviously, there's a gap. And I think when it comes to skilling, that is one of the gaps we need to fill and need to fix. Thanks.
Good. All right. I mean, you've brought up quite a few issues, which I think our next speakers can elaborate a little bit more on. Peter, yeah, skills and talent at Eskom. That's where you're sort of based. But keeping in mind what Devon has said, because these are very important aspects as well, how do you ensure that training programs are aligned with the latest trends in the industry as well? And this whole transition in terms of where we are moving as a world and as a country with all these technological innovations in the energy sector as well?
Yeah, I think, Leanne, the first thing that we would have to do as practitioners is to understand the trends as well as the technologies. So there's basically 4 key trends in the energy industry: decentralization, decarbonization, democratization, and digitization. Digitization is probably the biggest disruptor of all, and it cuts across the 3. But what will be expected from us as practitioners, I think, first is to build collaborations and partnerships, because we won't be able to keep up with the speed if we are not collaborating, if we are not talking to technology developers, if we are not talking to TVET colleges, universities. So we would have to collaborate far much better than what we have done in the past. The second thing that we need to do is to build systematic and sustainable processes that ensures that we keep up to speed with what's happening. Because the developers, wherever they are sitting, the nerds, wherever they are sitting, they are fiddling with these technologies. So for us to be able to keep in check with what is happening, we would have to develop sustainable processes and approaches to help us to keep in check with what's happening in the market. The last thing that we need to do is to incorporate these processes and these systems into our day-to-day business processes, so that it doesn't become an annual thing that you go out and look at trends. But as you do your business, you are basically looking at what's happening out there. And there's a couple of examples that I can share that Eskom has implemented that help us to keep in check and ensure that it becomes part and parcel of our operations. One is exchange programs. So we have relationships with utilities in the world where we send our engineers 3 months, 12 months to their operations, to various research institutes, where they sit and work with the product developers and learn what's happening. By the time they come back, they've already seen what's going to come in 5 to 6 years. Another example is the program that we do with the TVET colleges, where we allow the lecturers to come onto our plant, spend some time on our plants. They will be able to share what's happening in the TVET space, but they are able also to identify things that we may be lacking. So I think if we're able to incorporate these elements into our operations, just collaborating, developing sustainable review processes and integrating into business operations, we should be able to keep in check of what's happening out in the industry and ensure that our training programs are aligned.
Fantastic. So obviously through it all, we've got our seater, and this is where I bring Candice into it. Candice, it's so nice to see you.
You too.
Having a look up, and I'm laughing because it just came flooding back to me. This is, do you remember Candice Motley, guys? Here she is. Here she is. Remember? And Graham, I was listening, remember the conversation I was having about the TV being on between the certain hours, and then Mnet came, and it was like a big deal, and it just shows you how far we've moved, and here you are working within the seaters, and particularly within the energy sector. So, you know, developing skills, moving fast, training, and upskilling South Africans is so important. Yesterday, it took a big chunk of our discussions yesterday, where there are so many gaps with the skills, unfortunately, lacking in South Africans. It's not that the positions are not available, it's that the skills are not there to fill these positions. And that worried me. So let's talk from the SETA point of view. Promoting, learning, developing those in the energy sector. What are we doing there?
Thanks, Leanne. Good morning to you and great to see you.
Nice to see you.
Happy birthday to your husband. And good morning, everybody. So yes, I think the CETAs have a very big mandate. Skills development is a very big concern, particularly in South Africa, and the skills gaps, particularly in the energy and water sector, is quite big. But I think it all starts with the fact that we need to understand that skills development is a collective responsibility. It shouldn't solely be left up to government or a CETA for a particular economic sector. Industry, the people in the room, the HR practitioners and talent managers have a significant role to play in terms of skills development and promoting and growing the skills base that we need across various sectors, but particularly in the energy sector. Viewing the workplace skills plans and annual training reports as a compliance exercise is probably one of the most serious mind shifts we need to make, because it goes beyond that. Everything we do as a CETA has to be industry-led. So whether we're talking full qualifications or learning programs, skills programs, and even your short courses that really is what you need in order to upskill and reskill individuals within the workplace, has to be industry-led. It's not the CETA telling you this is what you need to do. It's industry saying to us, this is what we need. This is what we need CETAs to either develop or accredit, or help us fund, or help us facilitate in order to take our workforce to the next level. And today's workforce looks very different from the workforce of yesterday, and it's going to look very different from the workforce of tomorrow. We have to constantly be adapting. We have to constantly be driving and innovating within our own organizations in terms of our skills. We need to be agile, we need to be able to pivot, all these wonderful words that are used on a daily basis. But the fact is that we need an agile, skilled, adaptable, and innovative, bionic, thanks Greg, workforce. And the only way we as a CETA is going to know what that really means is if industry is coming to us and saying, as an example, in Eskom, we ran a fantastic program with them recently. One of the critical challenges in the energy sector is that it's still very male-dominated. So we have 67% males in the sector, 33% females. And that percentage actually decreases at your middle management and senior C-suite management levels. So that's a big challenge. The second challenge is it's an aging workforce. Both in energy, water, and across other sectors, but particularly in our heavily technical skilled sectors, aging workforce, which means there's lack of succession planning. Well, not lack, but it means we need more succession planning, more mentoring, more coaching programs, more youth coming into the sector. But let's just focus on the women, gender parity, gender equity programs. So Eskom came to us and said, listen, we really want to develop our women at Eskom. They're already doing marvelous things. EWAP has been running for, it's like 11 years now. Yes. Am I right, Becky? So you're already doing marvelous things at Eskom. And you cannot fault the skill set at Eskom, as Devin has said. And I mean, really, when I look at the women that were on the program, there were 105 women, PhDs, master's degrees, doctors. I mean, their technical skills were at another level. There's no way you need to give them more technical skills. What we need, actually, is to develop women leaders in self-awareness, communication skills, resilience, contextual strategic thinking, brand management. You might not think these are relevant skills, but it is absolutely critical to the workforce today. These are the soft professional skills that allow a professional to move up the ranks. And of the middle managers and executive managers who participated in the program through Eskom, we had 100% completion rate, and a large number of those women have been now promoted into roles they didn't even realize they wanted when they started the program.
Sure.
So these are the kind of programs that the CETAs, particularly EW CETA, is now focusing on. We realize that we have a responsibility to your unemployed and your youth, get them into full qualifications. But we want to work closer with industry to find out what are your skills, short skills program needs, what are your core professional skills needs, and let us assist you with that. We will put together bespoke, tailored programs with institutions to allow you to achieve your workforce and talent management goals.
Yeah, it is amazing, and it's comforting to hear what you're saying, is that certainly we do not lack the certain academic skills, but it's soft skills which are not soft. These are probably the most important skills that are needed. But one thing, and again, I'm going to start opening up the floor for questions as well. So please make sure to lift your hand up if you do want to ask a question as well. I can already see 2 on this table. So guys with the microphones, if you want to get ready to sort of start walking around the room, I can see 2 at this table. How do we retain these skills, though? Because that for me is a very, very big problem. There is so much global competition at the moment, and the world is tiny, it's small, and people are looking for opportunities, and unfortunately, yes, Eskom's been plagued with huge issues, and people feel, I don't need this in my life, I can move off and go and work somewhere else, because it is difficult to be associated with a brand, unfortunately, that hasn't over the years been performing very well. Things may be changing, but at the same time, you've lost those skills, and to get them back is a big thing. I don't know who wants to talk about this in terms of the company adapting and keeping these incredible skills that we have in South Africa and at Eskom and wanting them to work. Anyone want to hazard an answer at that one?
So if you look at Eskom, and probably 90% of the electricity comes from Eskom. It's a vertically integrated utility, which basically means an individual can move from generation to nuclear. You've got all the technologies that you can think of in a utility, from hydro to fossil fuel to nuclear. Globally, you don't have that opportunity. So if you go to Europe, you probably find that RWE, they will only be doing wind. So some of these opportunities allows our employees to move from one technology to the other. They allow our employees to move from one province to the other, because all our plants are all over the country. But we also have relationships with other utilities globally, which also allows our engineers to go and work in other parts of the world. And some of these things, though they may not appear as hardened things that put food on the table, as in cash in pocket, but they are also things that keep our employees grounded. They know that they have opportunities. They know that they are able to move from projects to new technologies. They also know that they are able to go and work in China. I mean, we've got lots of employees in China, in Russia, in Japan, as well as in Europe.
In Korea as well.
In Korea as well. So the engineers knows that from an engineering perspective, you probably will not get any other exposure than what you can get at Eskom. They'll probably live for 2 or 3 years, but they still end up back in Eskom. And those are some of the things that helps us with retention, just the size and the number of opportunities.
Do you not find that, though, that you do lose these skills? Do you find it? Because it sounds like people don't go anywhere, that this is like the employee of choice.
Yeah, so we do lose the skills, particularly when people are not happy with pay for a certain period, they will go. But what gives us confidence is the fact that wherever they go, they will come back. I mean, a couple of years ago, we had problems with Saudi Arabia. They started a nuclear plant, and the only place that they could recruit was Quebec. So they wiped out operators and engineers, and I mean, they gave them salaries that we couldn't match.
Yeah.
But majority of those employees are coming back. Issues, it's hygiene issues. just the working conditions, the culture, the religion in the country. So there are certain things, and the freedom that they had in their previous role. So people are now willing to drop down their salary to come back. So we are comfortable with people leaving, but we know that they will not be able to find another employer that offers mobility as well as the opportunities that we provide.
Okay, good. We had some questions here. I think our mics, there we go. The gentleman is still coming to now. Oh, there are quite a few questions, actually. I'm glad I opened it earlier. All right, there we go. Please stand, and please say your name as well. It's always nice to know your name.
No problem. Good morning, everyone. My name is Zuki, and I am the HR director for Sulza. So Eskom is actually one of our biggest clients at Sulza, and my question is to the panelists from Eskom. I want to share maybe an insight before I get to the question of something that recently happened with one of my employees that's based on one of your plants. So I have a total of about 150 employees spread across 13 power stations. And we had a vacancy for a site supervisor in one of the power stations, and we ran the full recruitment process, and we got to the stage where we needed to extend an offer. But unfortunately, the candidate who is our employee at Sulza, that was suitable, technically suitable, found suitable, technically had all the necessary experience. He's been at the plant for 15 years, has a trade, but unfortunately he did not complete his matric, and the site manager instructed that we could not proceed with the appointment. To my great disappointment, I didn't expect that feedback, especially when we know that we still come from a place in time where previously disadvantaged groups still don't have your qualifications, especially matric. And I tried to reach out to a number of people within Eskom, site contract managers mainly, and it didn't get resolved. I think my biggest disappointment again is the fact that today the same employee is acting as a supervisor on the same site. So my question is, how can we as your contractors really look at these barriers when it comes to giving opportunities fairly, especially when we talk about skills-based hiring? I don't think skill-based hiring really speaks about that qualification. It actually speaks to the technical capabilities that you guys want on the plants. I mean, a plant is a very not so comfortable, nice office place to work. These guys are working in a very unsafe in the sense that there's heavy machinery, safety has to be top of mind. I really want to understand how can we bridge this gap, because I don't think it's fair to turn down an opportunity for somebody that's given 15 years of their career to Eskom simply because they don't have an HR or matric.
There we go.
Thank you.
A very important comment, I think. Who would like to take that?
Peter, do you want to take it? I'll take it.
You take it.
I think it's important to understand that we are highly regulated in Eskom. And one of the things that we need to be cognizant of is we need to be fair to the processes which are put in place internally. It is weird that the employee was turned down and now is working at the same site. Yeah. We might need to understand what happened, but I can tell you that when the organization is going out looking for skills, they need to make sure that they comply to what has been said. They wouldn't have to change the requirements to accommodate one individual. Then it becomes an issue to the rest of the organization. So we ought to be complying to what is required. So I wouldn't know really what happened between the person not having a matriculant and also being appointed later. But I can assure you that probably there's a process that was followed. But what we can do in partnering with some of our suppliers, you asked about how do we make sure that we close those barriers, is to understand if you're going to be supplying skills to Eskom, what is it that Eskom require, and how do you then comply to that requirement? It is unfortunate, Leanne, we are highly regulated, and some of the things, if you do them wrongly, it costs the organization in the long run.
Yeah, I do understand that, but there is a lot of frustrations. But may we hook up at the end to speak about this properly? Perhaps maybe you can kind of come together and understand what the actual story was, because there's a bit of confusion. I can see that in your faces. You're not understanding the story. But thank you for raising it. We'll take it offline. But it's an important aspect you've brought up. Another question from this table.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Pulen Kamakwani from Afrocentric Group. Bonitas and the rest are part of Afrocentric. I know you don't know it. So, before I ask my question, I'm going to advise that what she's looking for, or what you can look for, is recognition of current competence, not RPL, but I can share offline, because most organizations, we are at fault in terms of, Leanne, within our businesses, our employees are used to act into positions. And when the opportunity opens, we then say, go and compete. And then that person is not appointed. But we are saying, you are good to act, you are good to be enlarged or be exposed. So where I worked before, we introduced, is highly regulated, we introduced recognition of current competence, and we partnered with third parties.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that's what makes HR or talent management, talent management. So the second one, I love developing people. And when you mentioned the ability, when you guys did skills audit, to influence the current skills needs and the future skills needs, and then you mentioned that you've got a process that you do, a methodology, and a tool. I'm more interested on the tool and the methodology that you use. Is it in-house or outsourced?
Okay, thank you.
So all of that is done in-house by Escomites. It's done by Escom employees. They've developed an analytic tool that can look at what is the workforce required for the future, and the skills audit was also developed in-house. So I just want to add something, Leanne. I think as this transformation is happening, it's important for us human resources to be sitting at the table when the decisions around technology is happening. Because we're the one that need to be proactively preparing the workforce for the future. Everybody talks about renewables, this must be happening. We should be having those skill sets readily now. We should be now training for the technologies that are going to be landing in 5 years from now. So if we can take away from this conference is that as HR practitioners, we really need to be in those boardrooms when changes are going to happen, so that we prepare our workforce, so that we also make sure that we give certainty to our employees. Most of the time we find that employees are a little bit scared about the change, purely because they don't know what it means to them. What will my job look like once this new efficiency or new technology has arrived? What does it mean to my livelihood? So we need to be sitting at the table, driving and securing that the human is safeguarded in that process. So the tools are done internally.
And this is very much so the message I got from yesterday, and it was one of the words that I kind of used at the end, is that it seems that there is a huge communication gap between what's happening around the tables, the boardroom tables, all these developments, and the talk about where you're changing, and yet HR is not invited to that table, which for me doesn't make any sense, because you are the ones that are finding the skills to help the company move forward, and yet you're not invited to sit at the table. Guys, you've got to bash that door down. I've honestly realized that. Candace?
And can I just add, Leanne, that a huge tool, beneficial tool for any HR department would be what we call the sector skills plans. So every seater, there are 21 seaters, and no matter where your industry lies, it should lie within one of those 21. You can go onto their websites and, Google their strategic documents, and the sector skills plan is basically taking all the data, all the research, all the information that's coming from the industry within that economic sector, and saying, this is what you're saying the current skills are, and this is what you're saying as industry the future skills are. And if you use those sector skills plan as HR to do your workforce planning, I think it will really assist you in terms of understanding the skills you're going to need, particularly as you move forward into this new digitized, transitioned world that we're in.
Thank you, Candice. Good point. Another question over there, and then I did see one at, there we go. I see that table has also got a question there. Please go ahead.
Thanks so much, and good morning, everybody. Gretchen Feldman, currently the Senior Manager at Afrocentric Group. I have to say, Leanne, I am a proudly ex-Eskomite, and dare I say to my colleagues, my blood remains blue.
Oh, well done.
So when I left Eskom, I mean, that was a couple of years ago, it was more than 44,000 employees.
Sure.
My question to the panel is, so we've spoken a lot about AI, technology, all of that. Have you evaluated potentially your success in terms of training in-house, in-person versus virtual training, which obviously with virtual training, the reach is a lot more. So have you measured your success in that? Thank you.
I'm going to pause. That's great. Keep that in your brain, whoever's going to answer that question. Can we get that last question over there? I see we've only got 5 minutes left on the panel, so I really want to... Oh, there are 2 questions. Sorry. Okay, go for it.
Maybe I can just go first. My question is dedicated to Peter. So, Peter, you mentioned that some of your current retention strategies at Eskom is just maybe to move employees maybe to different provinces, or you take some of them to China or South Korea. I just wanted to ask, have you also considered to offer some of your employees maybe attractive related retention schemes like shares, bonuses, deferred short-term incentives, or sign-on bonuses that are actually market-related? Because some of the articles that we have been reading is that the Eskom employees are actually demotivated. Some of the bonuses that you give them, they are actually not attractive. So from a market-related perspective, have you considered to design these retention schemes and attract, because these retention schemes will also help Eskom to attract the most qualified employees from the market? Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you. Park it there. I can see notes are being written. One more over there, and then we'll start answering.
Okay. Morning, colleagues. My name is Portia. I'm from INSETA, the Insurance Sector Education and Training Authority. My question relates to earlier, when the conversation started, there was a mention of the scarcity of skills or skills development in terms of lacking talent or skills within the built environment. What I wanted to ask is that how best do the panelists think that sectors can actually collaborate in a sense of your public sector, private sector, but also with institutions of higher learning? The reason why I'm asking this is that we have got entities like your Council for Built Environment, who recently created a database for unemployed graduates within the built environment. Then you have entities like your IDT, who also have a replica database. You have also the DPWI, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, who have a similar database. From what one of the panel members indicated earlier on was that we have a shortage of skills within the built environment. So how can the sectors best work together towards ensuring that there is a talent pipeline in terms of that sector, or where there's a lacking within an identified field or skills that they can collaborate and create, but also in line with the graduates that we do have. We have quite a quantity of graduates within such fields who have graduated, but they are unemployed at this point. Okay. But also looking at their fields of study, they are required to affiliate with other professional bodies like your EXA, of which there are certain regulations that require them in terms of experience or levels of operating. So it limits them to even affiliate with such sectors because they have not had such exposure. But the scarcity is there. But how do we build towards enabling the sector to benefit from talent that is there? It's raw talent, but it can be worked towards on. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to ask you to answer these as quickly as
Yeah.
you can, but obviously giving as much info as you can as well.
Peter, I'll take the second one. You'll take the difficult first and last.
Delegate.
So the second question was about if how successful have we measured the success of training in person and also virtual training. So at ESCOM Academy of Learning, we deliver training in different formats. There's simulation, there's e-learning, virtual training, and there's face-to-face. So all of them, they play a different role to a different training intervention that you are giving. For instance, we've seen that in our operations, amazingly, the generation prefer to be trained face-to-face, and they want training to be happening locally where they are at. But in some divisions, you'll find out there's training where they are okay with the virtual training, and you still get the success of what you would have achieved. So it depends, and it's not one size fits all for all the divisions in ESCO. But there are some areas where, like we train a lot of people on ethics, believe you me, and that we do it virtually, and we've seen a lot of success in terms of that. So it depends on what training are we offering. Some it's face-to-face and some is virtual, and some is simulation learning.
Okay.
Yeah, so quickly on the two last questions, one on retention. Maybe what we didn't cover is the fact that we do have a comprehensive retention strategy, focusing on remuneration, diversity, development, and we're covering all the different aspects. From a remuneration perspective, we also have market premiums for critical skills, so nuclear engineers, they have extra allowances that they receive in order to ensure that we retain them. The elements like your bonuses and incentive schemes are also part and parcel of our tools to retain talent. Unfortunately, in the past 5 years, we have not been doing well financially, and it wouldn't be prudent for us to pay bonuses or shares when we're reporting negative results. So the situation is getting better. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and probably some of these tools will be reactivated. The last question on collaboration.
Yes.
There are various points of collaboration. I mean, we're working through the CETAs to collaborate. We're working through PCC. We're working through other industry associations to collaborate. I'm just not too sure if whether the lady, I think she said she's from
INSETA.
INSETA. Yeah, we probably haven't started working with the INSETA, but there are various points at which we collaborate with various industries. I think Devin could probably provide the array of different platforms and forums that enables the industry to collaborate. We probably could take a contact and make sure that she get in touch with the various coordinators of the networks and the platforms.
Just at a high level.
Yeah.
So she spoke about the different databases that are being established. Those databases are mainly driving, have been put in place as a result of a strategy developed around 3 years ago to drive employment within these particular sectors. So you would, if you know the construction industry, it goes to troughs and it's a dusters. So they're trying to level it out, right? And try to consistent demand. So in the absence of that, and it's only recently being picked up in the way the construction sector is able to push out demand, those databases are now used to identify training points as well as employment points in the construction industry. So that's the purpose of those databases. So everyone's trying to do this, not just government, but also some private sector institutions. On excess standards, I mean, we get it. Having an academic qualification is one thing. But to get the competence required to sign off on particular functions in engineering requires very specific and technical competencies. And that's normally developed over a period of time. And if In the engineering sector, that's roughly around 8 years. And you have to go through a series of different capacity opportunities and signed off at different points. So you would always find that in the engineering fraternity, there's a dropout rate because a lot of these candidates, particularly engineers, can easily find themselves in other sectors, and a lot of them end up in the financial sector. So that's part of the dropout rate. But those that don't drop out end up in the fortunate position of being an engineer in South Africa. And engineers in South Africa, there's a massive demand simply because AXA has done an excellent job in maintaining standards of competencies. So, we understand the challenges sometimes of trying to balance between getting throughput in terms of professional registration, but you also got to balance that off with health and safety issues, community safety issues, etc. So yeah, that point will remain. I know we're having chats with AXA around EPC, etc. But those standards I don't see them dropping in any way in order to increase demand, and that will cut across all built environment professions, from architecture, etc.
All right. I really do encourage, because it seems like there's a lot of crossed lines and a lot of direct communication that needs to take place. So I encourage you to please speak to our panelists, and I know you'll be available for this. Candice, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? I know everyone's had a word to say, but if there's just a very short sort of takeaway, what would it be?
Yeah, and it's not so much a CETA perspective, it's more, I suppose, esoteric in a way. And when we talk about retention of skills, for me, what's really critical is a level of patriotism that we need to instill in our workforce in South Africa. And as EWCETA, we're thinking, how do we do that, obviously, at a tertiary level? How do we instill a level of patriotism where the people coming out of the education system are determined and feel responsible of addressing our challenges here at home in South Africa? Of course, economy and remuneration, and obviously it's money that puts bread on the table, is a determining factor, but meaningful work is really important. I think a lot of the workforce would rather stay in a job that is meaningful than whether it's competitively paying well. And meaningful work means continuous professional development. You can't have someone that you're not giving AI tools to and saying, this will help you in your job, and expect them to remain satisfied in that role. So continuous professional development plays a crucial role in developing meaningful work. And if you're doing what you love and what you're, passionate about, and you realize you're solving critical South African challenges, I think you'll stay and you'll remain in this country to make your mark.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Thanks to all of our panelists. Please, please, this is what the session is about. Networking, asking questions, getting the contacts. Please approach our speakers if you do. I'm sure you'll be around for the morning, at least just to come and speak to them, because you never know. You could make a difference in your life, your company, or even an individual. It really is worth your while doing it. Becky, Devon, Candice, Peter, thank you. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, a very quick announcement before I introduce my next panel, which is focusing in on mentorship. Somebody's left their window open. Remember, this is South Africa, okay? As much as we're very happy and safe and all cozy and cuddly in here, it's rough outside. Please go close your window. It's a maroon BMW. It's an X6, nogal. So it's a lacquer car, believe me, everybody wants it. FW09YNGP, apparently your window is wide open. Please go and change it. Or if you've got one of those apps, I don't know. I know Volvo has an app, and we can just close our window from here. BMW, I don't know, can you Is Volvo in the room by any chance? No, clearly not. Okay, no, seriously, please go. Maroon, go, run. We don't want anything stolen from your car. Mentorship. What an important discussion. It really is. And by the way, thank you to those from Eskom for being with us here today and for opening themselves up to all of these questions, and particularly from the audience. It's very important. I have often thought of what it was like. I mean, I'm sure things are getting a little bit better, but during these very hard times, what it was like to work at Eskom in this environment where it is so difficult. We sort of always making jokes and all of these kind of things, but you know, when that is your job that you go to every single day, it's very, very difficult. So, you know, I really do, I respect the people that work there and devote their time to trying to make things better. So thank you again to Eskom for being involved and for our panelists for being with us today. Thank you. Thanks for that round of applause. Mentorship, such an important conversation. It doesn't matter which industry you're in or what topic you're talking about. Mentorship is always the one that seems to attract a lot of attention, and people really love this one. So let me call up my panelists, because the conversation we're going to have is called Mentorship Networks Nurturing the Next Generation of HR Leaders. So first up, Darcel Swartz, a human resources business partner and operations lead at Nestlé, East and Southern Africa region. Then I've got Lungile Slatswayo, who is the leadership development specialist at BCX. And finally, Professor Kwazi Majola, who is the associate professor from the University of Limpopo. If you could all please make your way up to the stage. Here they come. We don't even have music for them. Come on, man. Where's the vibe? We need some active music for mentor. Yeah, exactly. The long walk to freedom. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. It's so nice to have you with us. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay. Nice to have you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so mentorship. It's always one of those conversations, one of those really, really important conversations, and everyone wants to sort of get involved in it. So, Darcel, let me begin with you. How can organizations design mentorship programs? Because that's always something that I think perhaps maybe companies don't look at, because we really need to foster continuous learning and provide meaningful career advancement opportunities for what we're focusing in on, HR professionals.
Thanks, Leanne, and good morning to everybody. Is it afternoon? Still
Not
morning.
yet, still morning. We're doing well.
Yeah, I think such a passionate topic for me, particularly for emerging talent. Yeah, I think mentorship is crucial, and the importance and the benefit of it have really been amplified over the last few years. Not just for professional development, but also for personal development. And I think we've made good progress in moving away from what it used to be. Traditionally, a mentorship program was one of the lists of resolutions for poor performance, underperformance maybe at times, but it's really transitioned and transformed to being something that's key for how we help emerging talent to transition into more senior roles, to really navigate this multifaceted function of ours called HR, and really to understand what barriers they face and how zones, but really integrating your mentorship program into your talent strategy. How we ensure we provide opportunities for emerging leaders, looking after our talent, really amplifying our EVP as a business. And having come from an industry, 19 years in the liquor industry, into now doing milk and baby formula and nutrition, I've realized that mentorship works the same regardless of our industries.
I've noticed that too. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, it doesn't matter the content of what your business does. I mean, from alcohol to baby milk. Yeah. So I think you are a living example. Mentorship needs to reach everywhere and in all different ways. So I'm going to come back to you and quiz you more in terms of how it actually works and how we can get that. But Lungile, let me come to you. I mean, from BCX's perspective, these mentorship networks, how do they contribute to the development of leadership skills, and particularly when we emphasize diversity and inclusion as well?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, mentorship it's not a nice to have, right?
It's a have to.
You have to
absolutely.
have it. And I remember when we started at BCX, I said there's an elephant in the room. You know, somebody's got to see when you come in as a new employee that there's no mentorship. Sure. I don't know how to navigate the system, and we essentially have just picked up and branded on a brand new program, because I think one of the things that my colleagues in the room will know is we almost start and stop and start and stop and start. The metrics measurements change, and your EVPs are changing and so forth. And so we had to start with it from scratch. But one of the things we have to answer first, Leanne, from a leadership perspective is, what are the critical skills that leaders need to have for organizations that are intentional about diversity and inclusion? Because that enables how the mentorship is going to assist. But first, let's look at these uncommon, and I think Candace mentioned something around the soft skills earlier.
Thank you. As you were speaking, I was just remembering what Candace was saying, and it's coming very importantly on the back of your comments too. So I was going to interrupt you to bring it in. So carry on, please.
I'm glad we're aligned. So
Yeah.
there's these uncommon skills that we realize in the boardrooms you need if you're going to look at somebody as a mentor, right? Let's think of just a few that I'll mention. Cultural competencies, okay? That's brand new. We've never thought about that. But when we think about diversity and inclusion, we now need to have you understanding that we live in a diverse country, we have a diverse organization. So what does it mean for me to understand somebody that comes from a culture that doesn't look like me? Because so often we probably want to mentor people that look and feel like us, right? You also have strategic visioning. Let's just talk about how leaders understand why we need diversity and inclusion. Why is it sitting on the scorecard, right? If we think about it from an ESG perspective, it's our license to trade. Okay? Why do I need to drive this diversity and inclusion, and what does it anchor on in terms of the business objectives? You think about emotional intelligence. I love that. We need mentors that are emotionally intelligent, but we also need leaders generally that are emotionally intelligent. So the more I see you as a leader having that capability and that skill set in you, then I know you're able to mentor other people, because I think we'll all agree we've seen leaders before us that don't have the self-awareness and the emotional intelligence. So it actually needs to be something that we start crafting in, as well as all the others like your advocacy, allyship. You need to see that in leaders. And then on the backdrop of that, when you then create these mentorship circles, it needs to be that you're in an environment that's fluid enough to collaborate different cultures when you're matching the mentors and the mentees. I know it's one of the most challenging things we need to deal with, pairing of mentors and mentees. Emotional intelligence, we need to, you know what they say about kids, we do what you do, not what you say. You know, so mentor me through that. And as you partner with me in mentorship, it might not be top of mind, but let me understand in the pipeline of leadership, I need to develop you for emotional intelligence, right? There's also something briefly called reverse mentorship, which is really about get the younger ones to mentor the older ones. General Electric, Jack Welch, did that years back, took all his young people, said go and get mentored by the younger, and they got everything around the internet. And we need to start doing that in mentorship
I love
circles.
that.
Yeah.
This is mentorship, I told you, from my daughter. Jokes aside. But yes, I mean, it is important to listen to both the older and the younger generations and move forward. I love that. So this didn't exist at BCX.
No, so
That's
as
crazy.
I think we do have your start, stop,
Yeah.
stop. And turnover becomes a problem, right?
I
One
know.
of those talent issues that
Exactly.
we have when we lose mentors. And just to elaborate on that, what we have now started doing when we do lose mentors is we've built an alumni. Right? We
Yeah.
actually have people outside BCX that are still mentoring people inside
Fantastic.
BCX.
That is so important. Okay, Kwazi, this is now, let me bring you in from like an academic point of view from the University of Limpopo. I mean, it's interesting to hear about how important mentorship is. And this is something I know you focus in on because these mentorship networks, obviously, I know we speak a lot about women, we really do, and particularly about people with disabilities as well. But mentorship is obviously something that's across the board. But perhaps you want to focus a little bit on the marginalized communities that need this mentorship.
Yeah, no, thank you, Leanne. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have done fairly well when it comes to race as a country in terms of representation. But when it comes to women and people with disabilities, there is an increase, but we are still experiencing some challenges.
Yeah.
I think mentorship networks are a powerful tool for developing the future HR leaders, including women and people with disabilities. There are benefits to that. The first one is personal and professional development. When there is a focus on a woman with a woman or a person with a disability, the mentor will be able to look at the unique challenges of that particular individual, and that will assist in terms of gaining confidence, in terms of acquiring new skills, and in terms of paving their career paths. So mentorship is very, very important for people with disabilities as well as women. Women, they come from different spaces, if I may put it that way. They are affected by where they come from. We know we are Africans. Sometimes as an African woman, over the weekend, you have to be a makoti, and that will take the whole weekend because there's a function in your family. So you have to put your work aside. We are affected by also cultural factors. It can be marital status, and I can mention so many factors and sub-factors. Same with people with disabilities. You have to understand where they are coming from, the type of devices that they are using because they are different, and the environment where they are coming from because they needed support. You don't know their family structure and how they navigated their way, to even securing that job. So a mentor will have ample time, time to listen to this woman, to listen to a person with a disability, and be able to assist. A mentor cannot only work alone, let me say, with the mentee. The supervisor must also be involved, because there will be times where during the developmental program, you'll need the employee to be exposed to certain things within the organization, and you'll need the approval of the supervisor. So supervisors are also involved when it comes to the development of future HR leaders. Another issue, another benefit is the career advancement opportunities. When you focus on women and people with disabilities, as I've mentioned earlier, you will understand where they are coming from. And if they are involved in these development programs, you are giving them an opportunity of getting promotion at a later stage. I have a student that has conducted a study in Limpopo in the public sector. I won't mention whether it's at provincial or at municipal level. But in her study, she discovered that people with disabilities are there, but they are not given promotional opportunities. They are still occupying the very same post that they applied for when they joined the organization. Yeah. So can you imagine, it's 30 years down the line, and a person with a disability is saying that I've been in this position for 17 years. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. It says a lot about mentorship in that particular sector. They are not taking mentorship seriously. Another issue is role modeling. We often talk about substantive representation. We talk about descriptive representation. If there is a woman who's holding an astronomical position there, and there are young women who are in the mentorship programs, and they look up at that particular woman, it makes it easier because they'll be able to interact with the boss lady, or that woman holding that executive position, and then they can see themselves, and she can be one of those people who would be mentoring women within the organization. Another benefit is that it boosts retention within the organization. If, as an organization, we are seeing as an organization that is friendly towards people with disabilities, through your policies, women and people with disabilities will stay longer. They'll be loyal to your organization. So those are the benefits of mentorship networks, because you will keep labor turnover. You won't be talking about that language. You'll have a pool of women who are ready for career advancement within the organization.
Absolutely, and ready for any position that comes their way. again, questions? I'm seeing we're heading towards 15 minutes left, so I want to start seeing if there are any questions in the room, and if there are, please raise your hand. I can see one there already. But I want to, while we get the mics through, I want, perhaps you can give us Darcel, an example of successful mentoring, a program that has worked and a program that's currently working.
Sure. Leanne, let me tap into what we've recently done at Nestle.
Yeah.
And although in infancy stage, it's important to acknowledge the green shoots of what we're doing. So Nestle has presence, and we really capitalize on our geographies. But there are also areas where we have factories in really impoverished environments.
Yeah.
And we've been very intentional about how do we ensure we get emerging talent and build and develop talent from those industries, from those environments, etc. And just in the last maybe 4 months, we've already seen, just by having a mentor from a different function even, understanding what HR is and really enhancing this mindset of demystifying the role of HR and what impact we can make as HR. And I'm so proud to see just the growth and the green shoots in just the individuals we've started mentoring, and also the shifts. I always think it's important to realize that you don't know what you don't know, and nobody gets to where they want to be without any help.
Yeah.
And sometimes mentees don't know what help they need. And I think every one of us would have had a teacher who's the reason you probably love the subject and now in the occupation you're in. It came from somewhere, whether it was structured or unstructured mentoring. And a very successful program in one of our plants in Escort, where if you do know Escort, out close to KZN, where there is really limited opportunities for young individuals and professionals. And with Nestle's programs, we've really been able to advance and really help develop both professional and personal careers.
That's wonderful to hear. It really is. Lungile, I want to ask you as well in terms of technology, and then I'm going to come to the question on the floor. I'm quite interested to know how technology can help when it comes to mentorship.
Yeah.
Is that something? Tell me.
Absolutely something we can leverage on. With me being in the technology industry, I think we're learning so much more about the utilization of our data, right? Again, my HR colleagues will know that we have tons and tons. We work on data. There's workforce data everywhere. But I think in the past few years, we've come to what does that story tell me? Yeah. What does that data tell me? And our data skill has become quite a critical part, not just for us, but for the business as well that we support. And if I think about it now, Leanne, things like manually trying to, in a workforce of about 4,000 and more employees, trying to now get the connection of who to mentor with who is quite tough manually, right? And to be honest, it won't scale mentorship enough to ensure that you've got enough inclusion for everybody. So leveraging your data and using technology to get even algorithms to show you who you think maybe with this skill set, according to our career paths, will be better matched with this particular skill set in the future, and therefore we can put all of those together, right? Putting in the dynamics, you obviously would need to do the work on the back end, but the dynamics of we want a woman to be matched with a man, and we want the woman to be matched with a man that doesn't look like me, you know? So how can we get this 4,000 odd workforce data to help us do what we would have done manually and where our biasness would have taken place, as opposed to using the technology and some of the algorithms.
Fantastic. I love that. Okay, there's our question on the floor from one of our tables.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. My name is Nombuso Shongwe, and I'm an HR learner in our organization. So I am nearing my end of my learnership, and my question to the panelists is that what advice would you give an individual like myself who wants to apply themselves and climb up the corporate ladder within the HR sphere? Thank you.
Anyone want to grab that one, and then we'll start getting some more questions. How do we climb the corporate ladder? Go for it.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot. I was hoping it was an easier question, but let me give it a shot. So I think it's an important question to ask, and it's for many people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's tough. I just made the comment earlier that even for mentees now being mentored, it's daunting. And it's daunting when you don't know what your next step is. I think the best advice I have is to never stop making yourself open to learning and exposing yourself to being willing to do almost anything. Yeah? Very often, we think progression is this way. It could very often be this way. And being open to understanding. Perhaps I don't get there tomorrow. This climbing the corporate ladder is sometimes it throws us off course a little bit. Because in order to go where you really want to land up one day, you may want to move laterally and understand what opportunities are here for me, and really rolling up your sleeves to understand how can I show up? Where can I look for opportunities? How do I make myself visible? And never stop learning. I think never stop learning. Connect yourself with the right people, and I absolutely seek opportunities. I think that is probably my best advice for you, and being open to the opportunities that don't necessarily take you where you want to go very quickly, and maybe it takes a bit longer, and that's okay.
So maybe I'll assist even more in asking your question. And I don't know, Darcel or Lungile, you can answer this question. Prof, I'm not sure this is where your strong point would be, but maybe it is. How did you start? Where did you start? How did it begin for you? Let's give a personal story, because I think that helps the young graduates in here, that you're not going to get to the top on day one. You're going to start right at the bottom.
Yeah.
But how do you get in? That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love
Oh,
to
you also
take
got the
that.
answer. So each one of you, very quickly, because I think this is invaluable information.
Great question, Leanne. I mean, I'm going to live to tell this tale.
Yeah.
I have a mentor that turned into a sponsor.
Okay.
And if we know the difference, that transition now is happening and accelerating faster than it did. Because a mentorship relationship becomes very vulnerable to a certain extent, especially in a VUCA world that we are in, right? And when your mentor can sit across you and say, what can I do to help this person? Once they really understand your objective and where you want to grow to, are willing by all means to thrive even on themselves, on seeing you progress and succeed. And I had a mentor that turned into a sponsor. And literally, I quote the book, Betting on a Ducky by, I forgot, I'm forgetting the Mteto Nyati, thank you.
Yes.
And I say, I was betted on, right? Somebody went and told somebody and said, I'm betting on this young black lady, and I want you to bet on her too. A male, a black male at the time that had no designation within HR was the CFO at the time and put the word forward, and it's been running ever since.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
ever since, I've had everybody betting on me. And just a little bit towards that question, personal branding. Brand yourself. Mentorship has also really changed. There are now virtual mentors, boardrooms of mentorships that are happening online. Access that as a means of just really connecting yourself with the right people if you can't find a specific mentor. But yeah, I have a mentor that turned into a sponsor.
Stunning. I love that. What did you want to say, Chris? You want to answer this?
And I must say that I get stressed when I hear such a question, because I'm working with young people and they always come to my office, asking for opportunities and stuff like that. So when it comes to myself, I started as a policeman. I was trained here in Pretoria.
Yeah.
After college, I went to work in a rural station, and that's when I got a call from HR, because I had an HR qualification from the area head that I must come now and join the area office. I found Superintendent Fanyasfeld there. He did not have a qualification, but well experienced when it comes to HR. So he's the one who groomed me from raw. I was raw at that particular time. And he took me we attended meetings together. He took me through the special orders, the service orders within the police force. 3 months before even going outside to attend meetings with him. So he was more like a brother, a bigger brother to me.
Yeah.
He was more like a mentor. I always tell my students of this wonderful young man. He was a young Buresian, if I may put it that way.
Isn't that
So
amazing?
I saw him after 15 years last year. So it was a great reunion. He retired, I think, in August last year.
Isn't
so
that fantastic?
mentorship is very, very important. I'm
Yeah.
where I am today because of that young man
And
at
you
that
know,
time.
everyone in this room, you can be a mentor. You can, and you will be. You know, there are people that are thanking you that you don't even know you've helped them, and that's what's so incredible. It really is. So be loud, be proud, be out there, sell yourself, brand yourself, get noticed. That's what's important. Okay, another question. I know we did have one. There we are. There we go.
I just have a question. I'm a firm believer in mentorship networks, but what I've seen happen more often today is that we're dealing with, talent that is really eager to accelerate their career and their growth within organizations. And I wanted to know, what are your views for coaching networks versus mentoring? Because coaching really, I feel for me, gives more real-time sort of like feedback. It touches on all the cultural aspects and the behaviors that we want to see in our employees. Mentorships are long-term, and most of the time what I've seen and I've found is that you sort of like lose the talent in the process of the mentorship because they're either not getting exactly what they want in terms of progressing their career. And what are your thoughts on introducing coaching networks versus the mentorship? I mean, the world is evolving. We're talking AI, we're talking technology. Everything is becoming more fast-paced, and I don't necessarily know if, I don't know, my colleagues in the room here have the same feeling. Mentorships are really great, they're there, but are they as impactful, and do they really allow for us to retain talent that we don't want to lose into the market? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone want to answer that one?
Yeah, I will. I see the transition of a mentor needing to be a coach in the middle of mentoring, not knowing what to do because I didn't expect. Why? Because we live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Mentors can no longer predict. They don't know the way ahead. And it does become challenging because at that point you need to turn around and become a coach. Because coaching says that I believe that you know how to solution. And so I strategically want to question you about which way we should move forward in order to grow. And so the conversations start become a little bit more of a coaching. What I would say is we need leaders. Mentorship, by the way, has to be a willing heart, right? You have to want to do mentorship. But then you need the capability of coaching. And coaching is a capability and a skill that you learn and you attain. And so I think we can merge the two because it becomes a good relationship in a time with a lot of changing landscapes. So that if you need to wear your coaching hat, you wear it in the middle of that relationship. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Another great, even some rounds of applause. There we go. There's another question.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Florence. Maybe what I missed is, how do you roll out a mentorship program in a business, especially a small business? Because I find that managers almost default into mentors, but that's not they might not want to be mentors, but they default into that. And then maybe you might find a situation where the person that is now being mentored doesn't necessarily want this person to mentor them, but by virtue of the role, the manager has defaulted into a mentor. How do you roll out a separate mentorship program across the organization?
I'm happy to take it. So you're spot on. It very often happens, and earlier on I alluded to mentorship becoming a list of options. And we start looking around and saying, okay, who can mentor? We forget the importance of matching. We forget the importance of, does the mentor have the skill to mentor? Yeah? And very often that is why it fails, is because we don't know what to do. So at Nestle, we have been very, very intentional about it not being mentorship is not a standalone pillar. It's really integrated in our talent management strategy. So we have a targeted approach of who is our mentees and why. How long do they need to be mentored? Why are we mentoring them? And then understanding who in our business or outside of our business is best placed to mentor. The idea for us is not to have 20 individuals on a mentorship program. It's even if it's fewer, but fewer with very good quality. Tracking it. When we measure things, they get done, and they get done with excellence. And are we speaking to what the mentee needs? Does the mentee know what they need? And that matching of the mentor for the mentee is where the magic happens. There's understanding that I'm fully committed to mentoring you. I am genuinely interested in what it is. And your mentor doesn't have to have all the answers, but it's mentors that care. It's mentors that are intentional about committing their time to helping someone discover what we need to discover. And I think very often it fails because we don't do that. So I think to answer your question in a very long way is really understanding your targeted approach for why we think mentoring is the solution. And is it even the solution? What do you really need for that individual? And then we can navigate who the best person is to partner them with for success.
Amazing. We've got 1 minute left. Okay, I've got one question over there. All right, let's go for it.
Good morning. So I'm Tabile Nkomo from a small company that is now growing, Teba Basadi. And my question is actually a follow-up on the question that was just posed. So in putting together a structured mentoring program within your organization, how do you skill the mentors so that they are equipped to effectively mentor their mentees? Because it is a skill.
Yeah, nice question. A very good one.
Yeah, I'll speak to that because we've gone with a very structured approach at BCX. And I must tell you, a lot of lessons learned in the process. Because we actually went with training both the mentors and the mentees. Because we really were trying to make the mentees show up knowing how to articulate what it is that they expect and what they would like to have done by the end of the mentorship relationship, but also with the mentors to know how to hold conversation, what are the etiquettes really of a mentor. And so we actually had a full 2-day training for the mentors and a single day training for the mentees. But I'll share with the colleagues what is a little bit of a challenge. What you want to do is attach this leadership approach of people mentoring, even if you're not necessarily higher up in your grading levels, is you want to attach it almost to a performance or a reward or an identity, a piece that says, I want to actually do this. And maybe one of the things we need to think about is digital training. I actually would like my mentors now to go onto a system and learn how to train and tick it off and say, I am now certified, and get that certificate at the end of the training, and make it a little bit more seamless. That way I've got people that are putting up their hands saying, I'm willing to take the time, go into the system, attain learning, and then now I'm available to be a mentor to anybody who needs it in the organization. But just to summarize that, both the mentors and the mentees do need the training. I think it's just to decide on the best approach for your organization.
Fantastic. Let's wrap it up. Time is up. So let me get your final closing.
Yes, just one more issue. There's no need for one to look for mentors within the organization. You can look for mentors within the same sector, and there can be that arrangement between the two companies or the two people, but you need commitment from both organizations. So mentorship networking is very, very important. For personal and professional development, for retention, and to make sure that people advance in their careers. As I've stated, that women are there. I'm supervising 15 female students at master's and doctoral level. Those people will be ready in a year or 2 years' time. They'll be ready for the labor market. So they will need mentors when they join the labor market. So I hope that there will be a pool of mentors out there.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Thank you for a very important conversation in terms of mentoring. Lungile, Darcel, and Prof, thank you very, very much for your time. And please remember, at any time, Our panelists are here. You can speak to them. We are, in fact, going to break for coffee very quickly, please, only for 15 minutes. We're really running on a tight schedule today because we've got to flip this room into a dinner for this evening. So please, 15:15, if we can all be seated with your coffee or tea or snack or whatever it is, back in the room. We're starting at 15:15. Thanks, everybody. We're 11:15. Oh, my goodness, 11:45. 11:45. That's how bad I am. Thank you.
The same old thing that keeps me around. If you wanna come around, baby, it's cool. And if you wanna fuck around, baby, I do. Just wanna be alone with you. With you. With you. With you. Just wanna be alone. What's your name again? I've seen so many of them come. Want me just play pretend? All your girls, they just wanna have fun. But it's the same old thing that we all see. Same old thing that keeps me keen. But I just wanna be alone with you. Just wanna be alone with you. The same old thing that keeps me around. If you wanna come around, baby, it's cool. And if you wanna fuck around, baby, I do. Just wanna be alone with you. With you. With you.